DK Metcalf's suspension is one of those NFL moments where the football consequences are only part of the story. The headline says 2 games, the fine says a little over $500,000. But the real damage, the part that could follow Metcalf for years, is financial, contractual, and reputational. Because if this suspension is upheld, it doesn't just cost DK Metcalf the final 2 games of the regular season. It potentially strips away at least $45 million in guaranteed money and turns what was supposed to be long-term financial security into a year-to-year gamble. And all of it traces back to one ugly moment on the sideline in Detroit. The incident happened in the second quarter of Pittsburgh's Week 16 win over the Detroit Lions. While the Lions' offense was on the field, Metcalf approached a fan seated in the front row, a fan wearing a bright blue wig who had been jawing at him from the stands. Words were exchanged. Then cameras caught Metcalf appearing to swing his arm toward the fan's head. It's still unclear whether the punch made contact, but from the league's perspective, that distinction doesn't really matter. Players cannot confront fans. They cannot enter the stands. They absolutely cannot make physical contact or even appear to. That's black and white in the NFL rulebook. Officials didn't see it live, so Metcalf wasn't flagged or ejected. He stayed in the game, finishing with 4 catches for 42 yards on 9 targets. The Steelers went on to win 29-24 in a chaotic finish that overshadowed almost everything else that happened that afternoon. But the league saw the video, and once the NFL starts reviewing something like this, the outcome is usually predictable. On Monday, the NFL announced a 2-game suspension, citing league policy that explicitly prohibits players from confronting fans or creating situations that risk injury or crowd control issues. The language was direct. There was no ambiguity. From the league's point of view, this crossed a line. Metcalf is expected to appeal, and that matters. But even the appeal process comes with risk because of how his contract is written. If the suspension is upheld, Metcalf will lose $277,778 per game in salary, just over $555,000 total. That's painful, but for a player of his caliber, it's survivable. What isn't so easy to shrug off is the contract clause. Metcalf is in the middle of a 4-year, $132 million deal. Buried in that contract is language stating that if he fails to practice or play with the club for any reason, including suspension, his future guarantees can be voided. Not reduced, not delayed, void. That's at least $45 million over the next 2 seasons that instantly becomes non-guaranteed. He could still earn it, but only if everything goes right. Injury, decline, roster changes, or front office decisions could wipe it away. That kind of clause exists precisely for moments like this. And that's why this suspension is such a big deal beyond the box score. Now layer in the context of what allegedly sparked the altercation. Initially, the fan claimed Metcalf reacted because the fan taunted him by using his full name, Decalen Zacharias. That explanation raised eyebrows immediately. NFL players hear their full names all the time. That alone doesn't trigger a physical reaction. Then came the more serious allegation. According to sources who spoke with NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, the fan used a derogatory term involving Metcalf's mother and called him something we both know you don't call a black man. That implication changes the emotional context entirely. If true, it helps explain why Metcalf reacted the way he did. It does not excuse it, and the NFL has made that clear, but it does complicate the public narrative. The fan, identified as Ryan Kennedy, denies all of it. Through his attorney, he categorically denied using the N-word, the C-word, or any racial, misogynistic, or hate-based slur. He insists the allegations are completely false. There's no audio, no definitive proof either way, just competing claims and a video that shows Metcalf crossing a line physically. What adds another layer is the reported history. Metcalf allegedly had previous issues with this same fan dating back to 2024, when he was still with the Seattle Seahawks and played in Detroit. According to reports, Metcalf flagged the fan to NFL security back then. If that's accurate, it suggests a long-running personal conflict that finally boiled over. But, again, from the league's perspective, history doesn't matter. Outcome does. The fan was ejected from the game. Metcalf was not disciplined in real time. But the NFL doesn't operate in real time when it comes to conduct. This is the league protecting its brand. The NFL has spent decades trying to keep players separated from fans physically, especially after incidents across multiple sports where fan-player interactions escalated into something far worse. The rule is strict because the alternative is chaos. So even if the fan said something vile, the league expects players to walk away, flag security, or alert team staff. The standard is impossibly high, but that's the standard. Mike Tomlin's response after the game was exactly what you'd expect. He said he was aware of the altercation, but hadn't seen it and didn't want to comment further. That wasn't indifference. That was a coach protecting his player and his locker room while waiting for the league to act. Now the Steelers have to move forward without one of their most physically imposing receivers for the final two games of the regular season. At 9-6, Pittsburgh leads the AFC North. A win against the Cleveland Browns would secure the division and lock up the team's third straight postseason appearance. They'd obviously prefer to have Metcalf available, but the timing of the suspension at least gives them clarity. If it stands, he would be eligible to return for the first playoff game. From a football standpoint, that's manageable. From a legacy and money standpoint, it's not. This is the kind of moment agents warn players about. One emotional reaction can ripple far beyond the immediate punishment. Guaranteed money exists to protect players from the randomness of football. When that safety net disappears, everything changes. Metcalf isn't some fringe roster player. He's a Pro Bowl caliber receiver with elite physical traits. But the NFL doesn't operate on reputation alone. Contracts are contracts. Clauses get enforced. If the suspension is overturned on appeal, the guarantees remain intact, and this becomes a cautionary tale. If it isn't, this becomes one of the most expensive emotional reactions in recent NFL history. And that's what makes the situation so heavy. Because at its core, it's not about whether DK Metcalf is a good player. It's about whether a moment of anger, justified or not, ends up costing him tens of millions of dollars and permanently altering how teams, executives, and the league view his reliability. The Steelers can still win games without him for 2 weeks. DK Metcalf might spend the rest of his career trying to earn back what he just put at risk. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf has been suspended for 2 games following a sideline altercation with a fan during the team's 29-24 win over the Detroit Lions in Week 16, the NFL announced Monday. Metcalf will miss the final 2 games of the regular season, though he is expected to appeal the suspension. Metcalf's actions violate league policy, which specifies that players may not enter the stands or otherwise confront fans at any time on game day, and if a player makes unnecessary physical contact with a fan in any way that constitutes unsportsmanlike conduct or presents crowd control issues and/or risk of injury, he will be held accountable, the league said in part in its statement. If the suspension is upheld, Metcalf will lose $277,778 per game, more than $555,000 total. More significantly, the suspension would void at least $45 million in future guaranteed money over the next 2 years, according to CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones.